So thank you for joining us for the next episode of Got 10 Minutes. I am here with international superstar Sarah Warren, global HR leader, and fellow Baylor Bear, so I came dressed for the occasion to chat today about employee engagement. So Sarah, before we get started, I have one question for you.
Sure.
You got 10 minutes?
I think I do.
Awesome. All right, well, why don't you tell all of our viewers a little bit about yourself, where you work, all that good stuff.
Perfect. So I am Sarah Warren. I work at AlixPartners, which is a global consulting company, and I focus on our digital team within the firm. And I support people in the US as well as Argentina, and I've been there for 6 years and loving it.
Awesome.
Yep.
Well, and that's why I thought you would be a great guest because, and when it comes to remote work, that's different culturally for people. And a lot of people are always trying to figure out, well, does engagement look different, for remote workers? So since that's your everyday and kind of where you live, what do you and your organization, what do you guys do to engage your consultants who are all around the world?
Sure. So I think the big thing really is about creating almost like sub-teams or affinity groups, teams of people that have similar interests that they can get together with and collaborate and share ideas, not only professionally, but also from a personal standpoint too. So I think one of the things that we've done that has been so successful is breaking up our larger consulting population into 4 or 5 different smaller teams that meet monthly, traditionally on a call, video call sometimes, really with that purpose in mind of connection, filtering all that information down. So, really it's about communication on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, and I like what you said about sort of facilitating connection, right? Because I think that's what a lot of people who aren't used to working from home will say. They kind of feel like they're on an island. And so how do you make them feel a little bit less like they're on an island? And I guess so the affinity groups and stuff work for that, which is great. Yeah. So that's how you operationalize it there. So where do some of the other ideas sort of like come from? Like how does it sort of bubble up in your organization?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I think you just got to ask, first of all. I think it's important for leaders to not only in the group sessions, but also have some one-on-one sessions, right? You want to know your people personally to know what makes them tick, how do they operate, what kind of rewards do they like. For instance, we've been having some virtual calls lately with some themes, and we've been giving out $50 Amazon gift cards for the best prize, which is so fun, right? And it's those little things that really keep people engaged no matter where they are in the world.
Yeah, and I like what you said, because honestly, people support what they help to create. And even sometimes with our clients, they're like, well, we don't know what people want. And we're like, well, have you asked them? And they're like, no.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, recently even we've been talking about what more could we do? What could we do differently? And so I'll have these, one-on-one meetings. I actually created recently this Sarah Club coffee hour where I talk with the other people named Sarah in our team. And it's just something fun. And we do it periodically to keep in touch. We're friendly. We like to see each other when we do have the opportunity to be face-to-face. And so this is just kind of fun. We get a cup of coffee, we have a virtual video call, and we just share what's going on, not only in work, but also personally. So
I absolutely love that. But I feel like if I tried to have like a Harold call, it would just be me, right?
Yeah, it might. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's great. Well, is there anything, that you guys have tried that, you kind of thought, this probably isn't going to work, but of course you let folks try it and it was something that people enjoyed?
Yeah, I think this idea of a themed meeting, I was a little hesitant at first, especially because a lot of our population is more senior in their career, right? So maybe having fun at work isn't normal or ideal for them. They just want to get in and get out and get on with their life. But we found that having like a Hawaiian shirt theme day or a hat day, people really get into that. And I've been finding myself laughing out loud, thankfully on mute,
Yeah.
on these meetings when I see people pop up in these random crazy outfits. And it really allows you to show your personality, that sometimes people can't see when you're working remotely. So it's a nice glimpse into somebody's actual just personal life.
Yeah, and that is an interesting thing because it does. It's kind of like bring your whole self to work. I'm assuming on occasion the dogs and the kids kind of run in and all that kind of
Mhm.
stuff, which is fun. And I guess with this, distributed global workforce, when things get tough, kind of in times of crisis, how do you focus and sort of maintain engagement in those times?
Yeah, I think it really is just about over communicating. When we have these monthly affinity group meetings, we have often moved to maybe a bi weekly affinity group meeting just to keep people informed. And then having larger team meetings, maybe monthly or every other week as well, just so you see from a whole firm perspective that trickle down effect. Because as people talk about all the time, you can tell people something once, in one ear, out the other. You can email them, you can text them, you can do all things. You really just have to communicate and communicate. When you think you've communicated enough, do it again, because people, they just are busy. And especially when you're doing a remote workforce, you're at a client site, you're doing emails, you're doing dinners out. There's a lot of different distractions. So you've got to try to hit them up in a variety of ways.
And have there been, I guess, of all the vehicles that you have, which one gets attended the most or viewed the most, or do you have kind of any information on that or anecdotally what you've heard?
I think with our team, when we do our global digital calls, so kind of just the global practice coming together and hearing from the most senior members of our firm, people tend to really stop down and listen to that. They're looking for guidance, they're looking for comfort, they want to know what the leaders are thinking and feeling, even if it's not much different than what they've heard previously. It's just kind of that continuing reassurance of, yes, business is operating as usual, we'll get through it, continue what you're doing, etc. So
It makes a lot of sense. And kind of what you're saying is that our little framework, when we talk about engagement loosely, it's always communicate, educate, and appreciate, right? And
sure, yeah.
I think you've definitely hit on those. Are there any sort of, I think you might have mentioned a little bit earlier, some forms of appreciation. So just randomly, it kind of pinged me. I was like, do you have any sort of like remote kind of appreciation or things that you do with your global team?
Yeah, I mean, I think we utilize Microsoft Teams a lot. So, sending little messages in there. We've got our little team group. So, doing a congratulations where everyone can see it is always nice. The gift cards, everyone typically can use an Amazon gift card. You can't, there's
Everyone.
always something to buy on Amazon. And so I think anything like that. And then really when you get back and able to see people face to face, whether it's on the engagement site or in the office, really maybe it's a lunch, maybe it's, some Tips treats here locally in Texas are always a good idea. Some fresh baked cookies, right?
Yeah.
Uh, Things like that. It's just sometimes it's very little things that make a big difference in somebody's life.
True. I actually love handwritten notes. So
Oh
I
yeah.
feel like that is like a dying art, So like just taking the time, and it's always a surprise to get something in the mail because that just doesn't happen anymore. And of course, I think as a manager, you can get access to your employees' home email or mailing addresses and send it to them. So,
I would
you know,
agree. I think that's a really great idea and one that's not utilized probably enough anymore. So I would
when I
agree.
get something in the mail, I'm so excited. I'm like, someone sat down with a pen, had to get a stamp from somewhere. I order mine off Amazon. Um, oh, we are under. Okay, we are now under 1 minute.
Oh,
So, is there anything that you want to share with us? Tell people where to find you. Is there like some final tip you have for someone who's just now maybe moving into a remote role or anything like that?
yeah, I think when you're remote, I think, trying to be as flexible, honest with your situation, keeping everybody informed is what's going on, not only on your side, but then, reverse as well is super helpful. And for me, have fun, I mean, you've got to break up your day a little bit, maybe if you're home alone, working remote or at a client site. So try to have some fun with it all. And that's what kind of makes it more exciting. But you can find me on LinkedIn, Sarah Warren, I'm there. Also on Instagram, but we'll save that for later. But yeah, I'm so happy I got to talk with you today, Harold. Always a pleasure.
You. You're awesome, and I'm sure everyone is going to love the tips that you provided. So that's our 10 minutes. So thank you very much.
Thank you.